Alright, so whenever I end up doing one of these movie reviews solo, it's usually about a movie that is way worse than I thought it was going to be, and I sit here bitching and moaning and yelling at nothing because of how much it sucked, and how much it infuriated me, how much I hate myself for seeing it alone, yada 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 yada. I'm not going to do that this time. I actually enjoyed this movie. So, this is Rampage. It is a movie based on the video game of the same name, that has inherently no plot. It's just you being a monster that smashes a bunch of buildings. That's really about it. I played the original game years ago. I think I played it at a hotel once, and I don't really much beyond that. I'm really enjoying it fine. I mean, because as people watch the show know, I've always loved giant monster anything. I had a really huge kaiju phase for a long time as a kid. And I guess I still kind of do. I still, like, if there's a giant monster in there somewhere, I'm all on board. I'll watch it. Just out of sheer curiosity. And you know what? Yeah, I had fun with this. Is it like Oscar worthy? God, no. If you've seen the trailer, it's basically exactly what you think it's going to be. There's not really a whole lot of surprises, and it doesn't need to be. It's a movie where the movie knows exactly what you're in there to see. You're there to watch a giant gorilla, a giant wolf, and a giant crocodile beat some shit up, and watch Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson be smirky at a camera for 2 hours. That's what you're there for, and if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna get it. Like, this is probably a short review because I don't really have a whole lot to say about this movie in general, other than the fact that, you know, if you go into it expecting just B-movie junk food, you're gonna be entertained. It's exactly like there's no reason you should go there and feel like if you went there with low expectations, there's no reason you should come out there saying, well, I didn't live up to what I thought it was gonna be. It's exactly what you think it is. It's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being his charming, charismatic self, with Tracy Dean Morgan, who's honestly kind of stole the show for me, because he is just eating all the scenery as this, like, CIA agent who is doing this over-the-top Texan accent, and he's owning it. He works it. He's just having so much fun just being this smarmy Texan asshole, and it kind of works. You know, like, the interesting thing I find about this movie is, and I've remember seeing a lot of the video game-based movies out there, at least the ones that came in the past decade. I will say, like, of the bunch I've seen, I'm including Assassin's Creed, it's kind of weird how this is the most competently made one. Which is weird because it's based on a game with no story. It's based on a game, like, although maybe that's to the game's advantage, because the game inherently has no story, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. No one's really going to give a shit. Because who really goes in this movie going like, well, the giant monsters don't turn back into people, therefore it's a terrible adaptation. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. And if you do, you're caring too much. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. But it's funny, though, because, like, it's honestly, as far as these video game-based movies go, it's probably one of the best paced, best acted, best written. Now, granted, that's not to say it's great writing, right? But also keep in mind how low the bar is for these video game fucking movies. So when I say this is probably one of the best written ones, keep in mind, that's like saying it's just average. That's really what it is. I can't think of a video game movie I've ever seen where, like, oh, the writing for that was really good. That was really spellbinding. Everyone's like, well, that Prince of Persia writing sucked. Assassin's Creed writing sucked. Street Fighter sucks. Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 sucks. Writing-wise. If you enjoy those movies, good for you. To be fair, I've not watched them all the way through. I couldn't get myself to do it. But yeah, so from that standpoint, it is a perfectly serviceable spring blockbuster. And it has likable characters. As character you, I don't want to say genuinely care about, but care just enough to be invested in what's going on. Because the whole movie, if you haven't seen the trailer, is about Dwayne Johnson, who plays this, what do they call it, primatologist, something like that, basically ape expert. whose best friend is who's an albino ape named George. No, sorry, albino gorilla named George. And one day, this evil corporation. By the way, I guess whoever, like, the director of this movie just hates the rat character from the game, because he's the, like, they show him back, the movie opens up on a satellite where the rat is, like, the first monster to appear, kind of, but then it gets blown up by a satellite, you never see it again. And then, like, the only other reference the rat gets is when Tracy D. Morgan, is given a rat by one of the main bad guys, and the guy goes, "I hate that fucking thing," and then just runs off. So whoever we did not like that fucking rat character, just could not give a shit, which is fine. You don't need a giant rat. But I digress. So anyway, this evil corporation run by Silk Spectre from Watchmen and her brother, some Weasley guy. And by the way, have okay, never mind. I'll get to that in a bit. Have this, like, weird, like, scientific mutation thing in space, and 3 of the cartridges that created the giant rat land on 3 different parts of America, and it's found by George, the giant albino ape, a giant wolf who they call Ralph, and a giant crocodile who somehow stays hidden through a good chunk of the movie. But I'm not going to look at plot holes too deeply, because, again, it's that kind of movie. You just kind of roll with it. I mean, like, if you want to find plot holes and nitpick the shit, you totally can. If you want to go for that, fucking go for it. Have a ball. Because God knows there's enough loopholes that you could, like, fucking throw an elephant through it. But, anyway. So, then it's all about how George is getting, and they do establish well enough how Dwayne Johnson and George have a good relationship. And they do a good job of selling, at least the baseline of their relationship, enough that you like George and you like Dwayne Johnson, so you care what happens. You care enough about what happens to these characters to be invested in their story. And it's all about just Dwayne Johnson trying to keep George under control, and George losing his shit because of mutagen, DNA, whatevers. And then it all accumulates in the evil corporation. Which, by the way, I was on board with all of the B-movie nonsense, but the hardest parts to watch were the villains, because they didn't quite have the charisma to carry off the notably bad lines in the movie, so they just... Silk Spectre sounded like she was just phoning it in, and she couldn't give less of a shit, which I don't blame her, but it still didn't make her any more entertaining to watch. I mean, at least Tracy Dean Morgan also didn't give a shit, but he gave not a shit in the right way, in that he decided, instead of, I'm gonna phone this in, I'm gonna ham this up, which, if you're gonna not give a shit about a movie, that's the right way to go. So, I will give the movie credit on this, it is pretty... Like I said before, it is pretty well paced for what it is, which is absolutely a B movie, and it's aware it's a B movie, but it's well paced for a B movie, which is kind of surprising. It knows what you want to see, it knows you want to see giant monsters, and it goes to them as soon as possible. That being said, it doesn't rush the setup, if that makes sense. So, like, it focuses time on the plot points, for as long as it's required. It focuses on Dwayne Johnson and Jordan's relationship as long as is required. And then it focuses on the monsters growing for as long as it is required. And then enough to build it up so we actually do see the giant monsters all together and all destroying the city of Chicago. It is a lot of fun. It is also a lot of fun watching, like, the giant wolf kill a bunch of soldiers, and watching the crocodile eat a fucking plane, and honestly, it was one of those movies where, like, I kept getting annoyed. I was like, no, don't, I like Dwayne Johnson too, but quit getting back to him. The monsters are fighting, it's fucking cool, go show that! I don't want to see Dwayne Johnson trying to fight the monsters too. I mean, I like Dwayne Johnson, but I want to see the gorilla fight the giant monster! But I'm getting ahead of myself. But the movie pretty much goes where you expect it to go. The villain's plan backfires horrendously, and all the monsters are jumping around in the city of Chicago. They're destroying shit, and it's really cool to watch. Like, the gorilla's throwing stuff. The wolf is, like, just grabbing tanks with its teeth and throwing it across the area. The giant crocodile is, like, just stomping around. It basically looks like Anguirus from Godzilla, if you're familiar with that character. And if you actually got that reference, congratulations, you're a Godzilla nerd. And he's using his spike tail and he's smashing buildings and they're climbing buildings and they're punching antennas. It's a lot of fun. When I actually and it's well shot so you can tell what's happening. There was never a point where I couldn't see what was going on. It's all shot in the daylight. Well, most are shot in the daylight, and even though it's not, they use like vision goggles. So again, you're never arguing with the movie to figure out what the hell's happening. You always got a pretty good idea what's going on. It all accumulates to, apparently part of the whole mutagen thing is that it makes all the animals super aggressive, and they need to find a cure. So Dwayne Johnson and girl sidekick, who was a scientist for the evil company apparently, find a cure, but they only get it once, so they give it to George, and George's job after that is to fight the giant monsters. Which it takes place, which is the entire third act, which again, I'm so down for that. That part was a lot of fun too. I have a couple complaints about that. One is I wish it involved more of George fighting the monsters, because it kept cutting back to Dwayne Johnson fighting the monsters in what way he wants. But that was the one part of the movie I was like, no, that's not what I'm here to see. Dwayne Johnson, I love you, but I'm not here to watch you fight the giant monsters. I want to see the giant fucking ape fight the monsters. And the wolf. Spoiler, and the wolf dies too quickly. Because the wolf is out of the game pretty fast. When all said and done, which is like, okay, that was a bit of a bummer, but then again, I can kind of understand if it's basically Godzilla versus King Kong after that, if Godzilla was more like a crocodile. And it's the closest we're going to get till that movie comes out. And it's honestly probably the best representation that fight would look like until we actually see it on the big screen. And yeah, when the two monsters are actually fighting, it's pretty fucking cool. It's fun to watch these two just giant, kind of how they contradict each other, how they have to work around each other. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. I'm just repeating myself now, because again, for what this movie is, I think it's perfectly entertaining. I don't really have a whole lot to say beyond that. I like Dwayne Johnson. He's charming as ever. I like Tracy Dean Morgan. I don't really care for the villains, but again, they're just plot devices to keep the monsters in Chicago. It's another movie that it knows what it needs to sell, and it sells it well. So as far as, again, if you watch the trailers and you thought, oh, I'd find that entertaining, then you're going to be entertained. If you watch that and said, I have no interest in that looks like it's not, that looks stupid, you're also going to think it's stupid. Because it is stupid, and it knows it's stupid. And there are parts where it does take itself maybe a little too seriously, namely when Dwayne Johnson's talking about George and poachers. But that only comes up a couple times, and they're pretty quick. So again, it's not something I would horribly knock the movie for. It didn't take me out of the experience. I do gotta give credit for one scene in particular that made me really okay, that was legitimately pretty good. Is a part where Tracy Dean Morgan, like I said, is a CIA agent who manages to capture George before he gets too big, and also arrests Dwayne Johnson and girl sidekick, whose name I forget. And they put him on a plane. And then, although they sedate George, evil bad guy, corporate lady, throws out a signal, which causes all the animals to get extra agitated, which draws them to Chicago in the first place. So George breaks out and starts throwing people left and right. This is where it's some of the CGI showed its weaknesses, because the way George interacts with some of the human actors looked really okay, that kind of took me out of it for a little bit. Again, though, it's the only time this happens. I don't really have a hard time with the CGI otherwise. Again, it's one of those things you kind of expect it. You kind of just roll with it. And, but then he grabs Tracy Dean Morgan, I hope I'm calling him right, Tracy Dean Morgan's the actor I'm thinking of, and just throws him out and knocks him out against some crates in the far back wall. And then, shenanigans happen, and the plane starts to crash. Whilst George is pinned behind a, forklift in the back of the plane, and Tracy Dean Morgan is still knocked the hell out. So I'm making sure that I got the actor right. Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Sorry, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Not Tracy. I don't know where the hell I got Tracy. Sorry, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Is knocked unconscious. So Dwayne Johnson kind of runs to him as they're crashing, puts a like kind of holds him, and then they jump out of the back of the airplane while Dwayne Johnson has a parachute, and he launches the parachute, and then Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character like wakes up mid-fall, looks around and goes, "Holy shit!" Which is like in that thick Texan accent, which is like, okay, that was probably the funniest part of the fucking movie, because that just seems like the perfect response to, wait, wasn't I just on a fucking plane? So like, it's a B movie. You know what you're getting into. There's no surprises. Go have fun if this is your kind of thing. If it's not, I don't know why you'd see it unless somebody dragged you to go see it. Yeah. I don't really know how much else to say beyond that. I think I've covered everything I want to say. It's fun. I had a good time. So I'm just going to very quickly go over trailers. I got most of these already, so I don't really want to retread old ground, so I'm just going to go over them really quickly. Mission Impossible Fallout, talked about 100 times. Adrift, I think I talked about that one before. I don't know, I like the actress in that movie. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. Venom, fuck that movie. Deadpool 2, looking forward to it. First new trailer I got was for The Meg, which that looks like another, like, could be fun, dumb, B movie, because that just has Jason Statham versus a giant fuck-off shark. If you don't know what you're getting out of that, then I can't fucking help you. That's really what it boils down to. Ocean's 8, this is a new trailer, still couldn't give a shit. Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, that could be good. I was never that crazy about the first Wreck-It Ralph. I always thought it was like, well, that was okay. I knew a lot of people liked it a lot more than I did, and you know what, if you did, good for you. I respect anyone that likes that movie. But for me, I was always like, I feel like it was a wasted potential of a concept, because like the trailer for the first one really promised like exploring all different kinds of video game worlds and all this and that, but the actual movie was like that for the first third, and then the rest was Candyland the movie, which was a little disappointing. And it could have been better. Maybe the sequel will be better. Maybe it'll like deal with some of the issues I had before. I know the end gag for the trailer is still hilarious. And then we got Skyscraper, which is another Dwayne Johnson action movie. It's like if Dwayne Johnson was in a Die Hard movie, like a Die Hard remake in the modern century, this is what it would be. So again, we'll see. I don't know. So that was the last trailer. I know this isn't like as ranty and as crazy as other reviews are, but like, you know, it is what it is. I'm glad I saw it. This is my first movie in a long time. I'm not upset that I saw it alone. So take that for what you will. Later this week, I still want to check out The Quiet Place. I know Amaris wants to go see that one, so I'll probably go with her. And then me and Laura still got to check out Truth or Dare. That one's a bad movie. I'm kind of looking forward to. So that'll be fun. In the meantime, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. By the way, keep an eye out during the next month or month and a half. I don't know when it's going to be done, but we did. Me and Ron did get together yesterday to record the new editorial using professional equipment. So we got great audio for this one. It's got a bit of an unconventional topic. I'm really excited for it. Keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you guys later. See you later.